Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we're looking at the Tier 5 British Premium Heavy Tank, the Excelsior, long awaited by some, much promised by me. It's finally here. I finally got the exception done and got it back. Now originally this was designed as a replacement for the Churchill, but then the decision to cancel the Churchill was overturned and it was put back into mass production, and this was never produced. Although I must admit that it could do with a better gun, but I'm sure if it was in the tech tree it would. I would rather have this than the Churchill one, definitely. Let's have a look at the gun first. Right, well, it's got a 75mm gun, very similar stats-wise to the one on the M3 Lee, but don't let that put you off because, well, the gun's not bad on the M3 Lee. It's not great, but it's not bad. 15.7 rounds a minute, 91 penetration, 110 damage. So the penetration could do with being just slightly higher. You've got 144 on your premium ammunition with, again, 110, and your HE 38 and 175, and there is an argument that it's not worth taking any HE, and I would say that, yeah, that's probably the case. Even though you will see stuff that you can penetrate with the HE, the extra damage, I don't know, it's up to you. I personally don't take any. 2.3 second aiming time, which isn't bad, but it could be better, but again it could be a lot worse, and 0.42 accuracy, which I would like to see slightly better because of having to aim for weak spots on some of the tier 6s and even some of the tier 5s like the T1 heavy at a distance. However, your hull traverse is quite good at 32 degrees, as is your turret traverse at 36 degrees. Your view range is 350 meters, which is about average for the tier, and your signal range is 570, which, I'll be honest, I can't remember if that's average for the tier. It seems a bit low, possibly, but then again, it's not too bad. Supplies-wise, we're looking at 56 silver for your armour piercing, 2,800 for your APCR, and again 56 for your HE. Equipment, I've gone for a gun rammer and a gun lane drive, and I'm probably going to stick vents on it, to be honest. Seems to be the one sort of makes sense the most. You could possibly leave vents and maybe put coated optics on to improve the view range, but I don't know, it just seems to make a bit more sense to me. Skill wise, well, I'm actually training up a crew in it at the minute. It's got 40% XP and 40% silver bonuses, and it will only see up to tier 6, so it's not a bad crew trainer for the British, to be honest. In fact, it's possibly the best out of the tech tree premiums for the British, to be honest. I don't know, possibly. Yeah, definitely better than the Matilda Black Prince. But yeah, so I mean, I've got sixth sense repairs, maybe track repairs, possibly clutch braking to improve the already good hull traverse, off-road driving, maybe. Yeah, I can't think of much else that I'd really say, yeah, you need this on this tank. But yeah, I think you're pretty much typical heavy tank skills, really. Now, covered its tiers, covered its bonuses. It's 1,500 gold from the tech tree, so it's not overly expensive. It's quite a nice little tank, actually. But let's have a look at the packages, not the packages, the modules. Right. 600 horsepower engine with a power to weight ratio of 14.63, and if I remember rightly, isn't the Churchill one something like 8 or 10 horsepower per ton? So already, it's going to be a lot faster. It's a big old engine block towards the rear of the tank though, but you do have a good top speed of 38.6 kilometers an hour, which is a lot better than the Churchill, and I would have rather had this at tier 5, to be honest. Reverse speed of 12 kilometers an hour, which could be better, but again, I've seen 10 kilometers an hour, so it could be slightly worse. 20% chance of fire though, so do be aware of that, and like I say, it is a big old engine at the back. Your gun, well, we've already covered its sort of aiming time and accuracy and what have you, but it's got 20 degrees of elevation, but a whopping minus 13 degrees of gun depression, which turns this into a ridgeline monster. You can really work the ridgelines in it and use your fairly tough turret armour on the front, and it does obviously give the front of your turret an angle, and it angles the front of your tank a little bit more if you can hide your lower plate, but again, it's, like I say, good for working the ridge lines. With your tracks, there are a few gaps through the tracks, and your terrain resistances aren't brilliant, so yeah, maybe off-road driving on your skills. 1.4, 1.5 and 2.9, which is really quite poor for your soft. And like I say, there's big old gaps in the tracks, but when we get to the armour, you will see that there are armour plates over there that will act as I'm assuming a small amount of spaced armour. Turret on top, where you'd expect it. The radio is at the back of the turret, more or less the bottom half of the rear of the turret. And you've got two big old ammunition blocks, hard to hit from the side, but if you're going through at an angle, you know, there's a good chance that you could hit one. And if you shoot at one of these from the front, if you can get through the very middle, there's a chance that you might hit that front ammo rack through there as well. Crewman, where you've got your gunner, loader and commander up in the turret, commander under his cupola obviously, which is very, very small on the Excelsior. And then you've got your driver and whoever he's going to be, maybe, I don't say radio operator because I would have said he's up there, but anyway, two guys in the front, and if you want to try and hit the ammo rack, aim in between them if you can. Now, armour wise, well, your basic armour figures for the turret are 114 on the front, and then you've got 92 on the sides, 92 on the rear, and your hull, well, 114 on the front, 32 on the side, which is very, well, quite low compared to the rest of the tank, but 108 on the rear. Now, one of my tips for this is if something does get behind you, and, you know, it's a quick tank, don't try and turn your whole tank around with your turret to try and get shots at it, because you will expose your very weak side armour. Try and just keep the back side of your tank facing towards it and hope that it bounces off it. You have got 108mm of armour, so depending on what it is, there is that chance. But let's have a look at the actual figures and see how they differ from those. Right, 1 to 20 is, well, the engine deck and, well, the entire upper deck of the tank, and the tracks, which will act as an amount of spaced armour, and I'm assuming they're the sort of 20mm end of it. 21 to 30, well, your side plates do come into that bracket of between 21 and 30, so that's not bad. And also the top of the turret itself, but as we'll see in a minute, there are actually hull sides, so maybe that 32mm isn't quite the case. So 31 to 50, well, the side of the tank is classed as 32, and that's fallen into that bracket there with a very small strip across the top of the back side of the tank, but that's the 32mm. But don't forget, you've got those side plates, which could be anything from 21 to 30, so, you know, you can side scrape in this tank, and that probably acts as a certain amount of spaced armour, like I say. 51 to 70, well, that's the lower portion of the back side of the tank, sort of the lower rear plate, if you will, the lower front plate, and the upper front plate, but it has got a very, very good angle to it, both the upper and the lower, actually. But try and keep that lower plate hidden if you can, even though it has got a very good angle. So, you know, with that upper plate, it's almost an auto bounce zone. And then 91 to 120, which is 114, is your strip across the front plate, the sort of very, the front plate. And then the upper strip just below the turret where your driver would sit behind. The front of the turret itself, and, well, the rest of the turret's fallen into that bracket because of the 92. And the rear plate of the tank, the actual flat back side of it, also falls into that category. So, like I say, possibly try and keep your your arse facing towards the enemy. If they can get around behind you, you've probably got a better chance of bouncing it than off the side as you're turning your whole tank around. And with that gun depression, if you're working the ridge lines, well, the upper plate would be an auto bounce zone, and you're angling your 114 plates and the 114 front of your turret very well. So, you can bounce a hell of a lot of shots when you're working the ridge lines, and with you only seeing up to tier 6, it can be quite an effective tank, especially in a support role as well in a tier 6 match, but you can be quite aggressive in tier 5s. Now, I think we've about covered everything, so if I haven't, which I may have forgotten something, you never know, I will mention it in the replays, but as for now, let's just get into them and see how this actually handles on the battlefield. So here we are for the first of the replays. It's Muravanka, tier 5 match, and it's an encounter battle. And like I said in the garage, this does have preferential matchmaking, so it doesn't see above tier 6. And, that is lucky, like I say. The 91mm can let you down. KV1s, OI experimentals, at a bit of a distance. You get the side of them, you'll still get through. But I was against a couple of KVs in a match earlier in the Excelsior, and yeah, it was just struggling to penetrate. I mean, it was struggling to pen the side, and that was maybe 200 metres. and it was showing us sort of 50-50, and it really was struggling to get through it, and I did have to switch to premium ammunition. And as you can see, I carry 14. You are going to have to use them, well, yeah, even in tier 5 matches, you know, depending on what's in there, you're probably going to have to switch to them every now and again, so, you know, don't be afraid to do that. Now I'm just trying to spot, there's normally a few that come through the forest, but there doesn't seem to be anything down here today. It looks like they've all sort of left the spawn and gone straight for cap. Now we're starting to spot some. Panzer 4H. CAFP? AFK? No, he's not. No, he's turning his turret, but he's done for. Managed to get the kill, got a little bit of assisted out of that as well. And can it? No, he's gone behind the cover. And you can be quite aggressive in the Excelsior when you're top tier. You know, with a bit of careful angling. You've got to watch your side armour because it is only 32, but with a bit of careful angling, your front can be very tough. I mean, it's 114 as it is. But it's just a case of finding something in this match. You know, I've either just not found anything, or, you know, when you're just a bit too late, you get the odd hit in, but that's it. Now I'm getting a few bounces from that way, so I've angled slightly. And there's a Churchill 1. Now, him I might struggle with. This might be a premium job. I mean, the easiest thing to get through is the turret, but it's still a fairly tough turret. With regards to 91 pen, I think it's 89 mil on the front, but I've got 91 pen average at 100 metres, so you know it's going to be tough for me to get through with this, and that's, I'd say that's really the only thing that I can grumble about on the Excelsior is its, you know, penetration on the standard round. It's just lacking against certain targets. Not against the side of a tier 3 tank destroyer though. Now there's an Electo, I think. Yeah, he's got the howitzer, and you can tell by how his shells are arcing there. Managing to get through the 3001H though. Couldn't quite get the last hit in as he disappears back over the ridge, although, can it? No. Go for the Electo again, let it aim, and it is just not quite going where I'm aiming. He's just trolling me slightly. And again, that's the accuracy on it, you know, it's not great. Could be worse, could be better. Should have let that aim though. Yeah, I'll not struggle to get through the front of a Blitzen. But normally, if you let it aim fully, you know, it generally behaves itself, but sometimes it just troll you that little bit, like it was with me on the Electo. Just did not want to go where I was aiming. Kept going over, or just going into the ground just in front of him. And I really could do with getting rid of him. If he gets the side of my tank with that howitzer, there's a good chance he could pen and do a lot of damage to me. I've got Type T34 coming around on my side. I'm going to try and pull back, trying to keep the front more towards the Electo, but I had to turn it because of the Type T34. And there's another Blitzen, can I take him out? And again, I should have kept my attention on the Electo, because he just killed me. But there you go, let's see how we actually did. Now, unfortunately, that was a defeat, but I got 53,000 silver, 1,779 XP for that defeat, 1149 damage, 1294 assisted, and what was that, blocked? I didn't quite see, and I came top of the table, which is always nice, with 4 kills. What did I block? Oh, 1860 blocked as well, so not a bad little match, and just sort of gave you an idea of what the Excelsior can do and what it's capable of, and what some of its weaknesses are, really. Now here we are for the last replay. It's Corellia, another tier 5 match, and it's standard battle this time. Now, as a top tier heavy, I could go down to that southeastern valley, but it can be a bit swampy down there, I think. So, I don't know. There seems to be a few people heading that way, so I think I might go up and around the northeast again. Sorry, not northeast, northwest. Over towards sort of B1 and 2, A1 and 2, that sort of area, and down and round. Although, looking at the map, it looks like everybody's gone towards the middle, and there's only one medium on his own down there. So, yeah, there's a few people coming up here. A couple of the mediums have actually span it around and sort of going up towards the northwest, so I'm going to turn around and go down towards the southeastern valley and see if I can't lend a hand down there. So now I've got to traipse halfway back across the map to get down to that valley because, well, I don't know, it's a bit of a funny spread, to be honest. Like I say, there's the two mediums and the light going up towards sort of C2. Heading along there, the tank destroyers have set up a line of sort of of defence really, which is not a bad idea, but I don't know, some of the other guys could have done with moving in a bit. Although now I'm heading down there, there's a tank destroyer going down that way as well, so maybe he'll be able to lend a hand. But it's not bad. I think me and my wife were saying earlier we'd definitely rather have had this as the tier 5 for the British than the Churchill. I'd rather drive around in this, definitely, even with that lower pen. And I think if this had been the tier 5 and sort of had the same gun choice as the Churchill, I don't think it would have been quite as horrible on that grind, to be honest. I don't think I minded the Churchill one the very first time I went in it, but I've driven a lot more tanks since then, and when I had to go back in it for the review, oh yeah, I don't miss that tank, not at all. Try and take down this Stug. He's managed to give me a bit of a slap through the front. You do have to be a bit wary of some of the tank destroyers. They have got enough pen to get through your armour quite easily. That T28 got dealt with quite quickly, and it's just a case of trying to get rid of this Stug, and I'm just wondering which way to go around the rock at him. And I think I'm going to just go around the back, but cautiously, to make sure he's not got any friends waiting down that way. But he didn't seem to, and that's him done. In fact, there doesn't seem to have been much of a push down this way at all, which is quite surprising. There's a Panzer 4H. I think, what do they have? Is it 110 pen on the standard ammo, I think? So I should be able to bounce his shots from there. And I've damaged his engine. I'm going to track him as well. So he's not going anywhere, and he's done. And I got a bit of assisted damage for it. But here comes Artie, and there's 3 of them. And yeah, they wanted a piece of me. I think I did take a bit of damage from them. And I've got to be very careful. That's one of the things you do have to be very careful of in the Excelsior, is with your sides only being 32. There's a lot of arty that could possibly pen that, and he's such a big tank as well. I mean, look at the size of the engine deck. Although, having said that, we did see in the garage that the 32, I think, was actually the sides of the hull, and those skirts over the tracks do seem to act as a certain amount of armour. I think it was at least 21mm, was it? So they're maybe not as thin as they make out, but I still wouldn't risk it. Like I say, big old engine deck, which again is kind of like a sort of flavour of the British heavies for most of the way up, actually, if not all the way. Right, we're managing to push into base. It's 8-6 in our favour, so we're not doing too bad. But we've just got to keep an eye out for those 3 arty. There's one of them. They could very, very quickly, well, make a mess of us. All 3 of them concentrate fire, you know, sort of one tank down. They might even need to do that, but that's one of the arties gone. It's now 11-9, so we've got 2 TDs. There's one of them. There's another RT. It's not a bad rate of fire on this. you know, it's quite nice. Now let's see if I can get this M7 Priest. There we go, although we've got shots coming in from over that way. I would imagine that's the other tank destroyer. Yeah, one more hit should do it. Can I get him? Oh, just missed. Now I've got to be careful of whatever's putting shots in from over on my right. Yep, there we go. So I'm going to angle towards it, there it is, and then sweep across when I think I've gone off. And I've just got to hope I can get to this guy and get into cover before I take another hit. Oh, just got tracked, and it's a Marder. In fact, I think the tracks ate that one, didn't they? There's the last RT. Can I get the last hit in? I can. And now it's just the Marder left. And I know he's over this way somewhere. And it's just a case of finding him. There he is. I can definitely afford to take another hit from him while I just wait for the aim. Oh, and it bounced off his tracks. Oh, and again. Oh, come on. There we go. Finally. Took 3 shots to do what 1 should have done. But there we go. Finally got him in the end. And there you are. That's the Excelsior, the Tier 5 British Premium Heavy Tank. I quite enjoy it, actually. Yeah, I do. I think it's not bad. Penetration is a little bit lacking at times, but you can make up for that by firing a couple of premium rounds. But yeah, it's not a bad little tank. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that episode. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. And I hope it's been able to make up your mind as to whether you'd like to buy the Excelsior. If it's between that and the Black Print, definitely go for the Excelsior in my opinion. But as always, take care out there and I'll catch you next time. See you later.